Next order of business will be roll call.
David Pruitt,
Here.
Bart Shockley,
Here.
Tim Turney, Ken Winkfield,
Here.
Tandy Pryor.
Here.
Next order of business will be the approval of the minutes of the March the 3rd Board of Adjustment. Have all members had a chance to read them, review them? Any questions? If not, I'll seek a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve March 3rd, 2025 minutes as submitted.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? No. Carries. First order of business is Christ Covenant Presbyterian Church and General Enterprises of Lexington, located at 123 Big St. Road. Steve, if you have that.
Yep. So I'll just, hopefully everyone's got the staff report, and I'll just reference some pages there. This is an older aerial of the property on Big Sink, and just a general little bit of information. This property had a prior conditional use permit for a church, but it had a specific condition that we call kind of a sunset clause or timeout clause based on the sale or transfer of the property. So what's happening here is there's a different group here looking to purchase the property and put a church in this building. The other church is no longer there, so there's that CUP's kind of voided out, and there's a requirement to come back for a new CUP for a church at this same location. So I'll go through this pretty quick, and a lot of this may look similar to you or something you've seen in the past. So again, there's a picture of the building that's currently on the property. This is the aerial of the property there at 123 Big Sink. You can see the buildings there, parking's there. Everything is kind of sitting on the site. It's just not being utilized at this point in time. There's a zoning map that shows the property zoned R3 or multifamily, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then the property to the north, that when this was all developed, is actually zoned professional office. This is just an exhibit the applicants turned in showing the building and parking. And then this was the original development plan that kind of showed everything initially that was going to be built on the property. So with that, I'll back up and then just kind of go through the staff report pretty quick. We had an application filed on March 7th. You heard who the applicant is and the property owner is. I believe the church has this under contract. There's still a property owner that owns this out of Lexington. It's zoned R3 or medium density residential. It's about just over an acre in size. And again, the applicants are requesting a conditional use permit to operate a religious institutional facility in the existing structure there at 123. Page 2 of the staff report outlines the R3 zone. And right there, the item that you see highlighted about halfway down the page says a conditional use. Well, this is interesting. I'm going to walk you through this. The conditional uses in the R3 say that the ones that are allowed are the ones permitted in R2. And then if you go on down to R2, it says the conditional use permits are allowed that are in R1, R1A. So then you go to R1A, and then you can see on page 3 of your staff report that churches and Sunday school buildings are an eligible CUP. So again, the R3 references R2, R2 references R1A, and then the R1A is where it says you can have a church or Sunday school as a CUP if the board approves it. So that's on page 2 and 3 of your staff report. Page 4 starts with the conditions of approval. As you know, Article 4, Section 407.5 deals with this board and conditions that get attached to applications. The applicants submitted 3 kind of general conditions. Again, for churches, there's not a ton we typically ask for, and again, most of the stuff is already on the ground here, building-wise, square footage, that type of stuff, it's already built out property. So the 3 conditions that the applicant put forward, number 1 says the buildings to be used primarily for religious worship service and related activities such as fellowship meals on Sunday and midweek prayer meetings. 2 says signage will not be added. There's a current sign on the property, and they would just update the face on the sign. And then the shared driveway agreement would be maintained that currently exists between 123 and 125 Big Sink. So again, not a really any new development as far as access point, parking, building, or signage. Everything is existing, and really just the uses would be is what they're asking for through the CUP approval. Page 5 deals with the review criteria that you all use when you look at CUP. Page 6 of the staff report are the findings required in section 407.5. And then motions up or down are outlined on page 7, and our attorney can give you assistance as you get ready to make a motion on one side or the other. I'll be glad to answer any questions. That's all I have on this. Again, there was a church approved prior on the site that timed out, and the applicants are coming back to get a new CUP reestablished at the property.
Okay. Board members, do you all have any questions for Steve? If not, is the applicant here?
Yes.
If you could approach and state your name.
My name is Connor Wilburn.
Hit that button there real quick. Yeah, there you go.
Connor Wilburn. Shall I spell it? Okay.
No. All right, do you have anything that you would like to state?
No, he covered it all. He covered the application.
All right. Anybody in the audience have any questions? You can approach the bench.
Are they planning on building anything out there? On the other side of the
If you'd be kind enough to step up to the podium and state your name. Thank you.
My name is Eugene Sears. I own on this side of the property. Are they planning on building anything else or anything? This regular church, like?
Just reestablish the
Reestablish.
footprint of what was out there, just basically go in the same four walls of the building and put a church back in use on the property.
I have no problem with it.
I mean, you guys may want to jump in here and say if you have any future expansion plans or anything.
No, I will confirm that we have no plans to add anything extra on the property.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anybody else from the audience that would like to speak? If not, I would like to close this hearing and seek a motion.
I make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for a religious institutional facility and an existing structure located at 123 Big Sink Road, along with the applicants and board's agreed upon property conditions. The testimony presented in this public hearing has shown that this does meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair. To the movement in the second, I would just suggest a potential justification. We have these section 407.5 findings, which say it won't overburden, won't increase traffic. And I would say it will not cause these harms referred to in section 407.5 because it's the same as the previous use in the nature of the use, its public appearance, and access. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll see. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries. Motion approved. Thank you.
You can leave if you want to. You come back next month.
So
You can come back next month.
come back next month for what?
You like?
All right.
Yeah, all right, be good.
There, all right.
Second item on the public hearing is Spirit Library LLC has filed a conditional use permit for a hotel at 125 Lexington Street. Steve, if you could brief us on it.
Yeah, same thing. We'll look at the staff report here, but you got a picture up here on the screen that shows 125.
Let me open the hearing first. I may
Okay.
not have done that. Thank you. Okay.
You good?
Yeah.
So the screen up there shows the building at 125 Lexington Street here in Versailles. And with the applicant, it's zoned central business or B2. Let me show you the zoning map here. This is an aerial of the building. This is a zoning map that shows it's two things. Number one, it's in the central business, downtown business area that we call B2. Additionally, it's in the historic overlay. So you can kind of see the little kind of markings on top of the B2 that designates in the historic overlay. And that's something the applicant will have to address if this CUP application is successful. He'd have to go before the historic board and get their approval for any facade changes planned on this building. The property size is pretty small, it's .144 acres. And again, the applicant is asking for a CUP to operate a hotel in this existing structure in the B2 zone. So you turn to page 2 of the staff report, and you can kind of see the B2 zone or central business zone. You see the conditional use permits, there's 3, one of which is a hotel or motel. It's a little surprising in the downtown area, you would have to get a conditional use permit to run a motel or things of that nature. We got all kinds of businesses, fairly intense, but in our current zoning ordinance, a hotel or motel triggers a CUP approval prior to being able to start and operate a business. We've got a few hotels downtown, and I believe before I've got here, I believe there's been CUP applications you all have seen for the other hotels that are in downtown here. There is a special provision on the bottom of page 2 related to parking for hotels and motels. So we have a parking standard that's general in the ordinance. Typically, the B2 zoning has no parking standard for other uses, but for hotel, motel, there is a special provision in this section of the ordinance that deals with parking. You can go to the zoning map. This is just an exhibit the applicant kind of turned in, and we'll go to page 4 of the staff report. That's where this kind of all ties together. Again, section 407.5 require when a conditional use permit is submitted that there be conditions, and you all obviously can amend those or add others you feel necessary. The applicant submitted the following conditions, 4 conditions. The maximum number of hotel units would be less than 12. Off-site parking would be located behind the existing building. So you can kind of see the applicant has the other hotel that's downtown is also his property, and he has parking area there behind this building where you kind of see the van and those other 2 vehicles. And he said the off-site parking would be located behind the existing building, and additional on-street parking is available on Lexington Street. Signage would be limited to wall signage only is condition number 3. And then the other one relates to what I mentioned, any exterior front facade modification shall be approved by the Board of Architectural Review prior to any changes to the front facade. So again, the property is in the historic overlay, so any kind of change to the front of the building would have to go before that board if you all grant it. The CUP is the first step. Page 5 of the staff report, again, some minor staff items of concern. If you do approve this, that the applicant does have to get a business license prior to operation of the facility, and the applicant have to register at the Woodford County Tourism Commission prior to operation of the hotel facility. Our findings and are on page 6 of the staff report. Our review criteria and findings, as we just went over, are on page 6. And again, the motion's kind of set up on page 7 to approve or deny the request. And I believe the applicant's here, and he can probably give you a little more detail on his vision for this building and how he anticipates converting this to potentially a 12-unit hotel facility. I'm glad to answer any questions you all might have for me.
Any questions? Any questions? No questions? Yeah. Okay, cool.
For the applicant or
For the applicant, for Steve?
Okay, yep, okay. Yep.
All right, would the applicant like to approach? You could state your name.
My name is Eric Carrico.
All right.
The LLC Spirit Library.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, I wanted to, I think we talked about the amendment to 12 units. We would like to do 12 units per floor.
Yeah.
If
I'll let you present that. So when the application was submitted, the applicant was talking with the building inspector about conversion potential on this building, and he initially talked about 12 units. But as he's explored it further, he might want to go up a floor or 2 to match other buildings downtown. And so he mentioned he may want to suggest a condition amendment. So if it works out for 1 floor, it'd be 12. If he could go up, he could do 12 units per floor if he can work through that with the building inspector. How many floors are there? Right now.
Sorry.
Go ahead, you go ahead from there.
So right now, currently, there's an existing floor, and then there's a floor that was added that was used for storage that kind of acts as a mezzanine. Excuse me?
24 units total?
20, well, I don't, so we started looking at the sketch of the layouts, and those hotel rooms are really large. and we felt that we could get a hotel room between 250 to 500 square feet. The ones that are showed there are a lot larger than that. So if we were able to do 500 square feet per unit, then we could do 12 units per floor. Correct.
Okay, total 24.
24, yes.
24 units.
24 units, yes.
How many are in the other, in the Woodford Hotel right there?
We currently have a CUP for the second and third floor, and we have 8 units total.
8 total? was
8
it?
total, that's it, yes. The reason why this came up is because obviously, you know, we spend a lot of time looking at that building, and we get lots of requests for companies, groups, places like that, and we just don't have the ability to provide them with that much space right now. But with doing this, we could bring in corporations, things like that.
That's not attached to the current building?
No, it is
correct?
not.
Do you also own the corner building too? That's gonna be,
I do not,
okay, you don't, okay.
no.
So this is, it's gonna back up to the back part of you have that cute patio area out there. I just got out there and walked around. That's really good looking out back.
Well, we're in the process, I'm sorry you had to see it, but we're currently in the process of trying to redo that parking lot because of the power lines and everything. Yeah, so ideally, we would like to make that area a more kind of amenity space and maintain it and make it a place where you can use it for like outdoor kind of activities, things like that. And then we also have the little courtyard. You probably, if you see the map, we have the little courtyard in the middle of it as well. So
That's what I was talking, I saw that little courtyard.
okay, so we have the little courtyard, and then we have the parking space, and there's another courtyard back there as well.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, okay. So, yes, so we would like to really kind of address those areas that are underutilized, make them nicer, and add additional space for people that want to stay at our hotel.
What was this building used for?
It is my understanding that it was a theater.
It was. It's a movie
Oh, it
theater.
was back then.
It was a movie theater.
The original theater, I remember that. Recently, what was it used for?
Church, I
We
believe.
did the,
It was a CUP
I
for a church.
wasn't on here yet. Okay, that's why.
Yeah, so, we consulted, so on our property, we did get the historic tax credits, and so we're just reusing those here in downtown, and we felt that this would be a great addition. And we did discuss with our attorney about getting the historic tax credits, and unfortunately, this was built at a time that won't qualify for it, so we're not going to be applying for historic tax credits or anything like that with this one, because it's basically cinder block and steel.
And how big will the rooms be if you have 24 of them?
Well, on the layout that you're looking at, that's about 850 square feet. Hotel rooms can go from 200 to 500 easily. The units at the Woodford Hotel currently that we operate all have full kitchens and things like that. This would be more of hotel style with no full kitchen.
Oh, it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I did a tour of that one, yeah.
Yeah, so we wouldn't have necessarily kitchens and things
Just
like,
a regular hotel.
yeah. Single travelers, couples, things like that.
how many parking spots are behind the existing building?
Currently, there are 10. You could say you could stack them up and probably get like 14. But in our experience, after 5 o'clock around the streets down here, there's like usually only people parked are people who are staying with us, and then normal checkout is at 10. So most people arrive 5:30, and then they're gone by the time that things get busy in downtown.
So you only have 14,
Correct.
12 technically, unless you squish them in there.
Yes.
And that serves the other 8 also?
Yes.
So what are you gonna do for 24 more?
Well, in our experience, a lot of people that are here are doing Bourbon Trail stuff, and they don't really bring lots of cars. They usually group together. And then for me, there's a lot of surface parking all around downtown that's never utilized at night. And nobody's really ever parked in the back behind us or along CBS. I don't know what the name of that road is, but for us, I don't think that parking would be an issue.
Ms. Pryor, is your microphone on?
One question I've got is the original conditional use request was for less than 12 hotel units. And can we do anything other than the 12 units at this time?
This was a question I had for you, Steve, and you, Kim, how it was advertised, and if anyone has come by to look at the application and is thinking that it's going to be 12 or less. Just kind of a notice issue for the public.
We didn't
It
advertise.
wasn't advertised as the number of rooms.
Okay,
Just a hotel proposal.
Yeah.
right.
And of course, zone ordinance says you all can wordsmith or add conditions and I guess negotiate with, I do think we had a call or two, didn't we, Kim? Or
I have one,
one.
About what?
parking.
Parking.
Okay. I just, want to make sure no one's relying on less than 12 and didn't show up tonight thinking 12 was okay, but that's not
No.
an assurance we made. Okay. Well, then, yeah, I think we can probably.
I think what he was proposing is that condition number 1,
Yeah.
the maximum hotel be less than 12 per floor, or per story, or whatever wording you all wanted. I'd give him a little flexibility, the intent should go up as he works through with the building inspector and the historic board too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a puzzle with what works with the building inspector as far as size, location, in and out, things like that, and then a balance of what we can fit in the building. And that was just the first drawing that we had made.
I have real concerns about the parking for that many, for 24.
Okay.
I live downtown, and I use it all the time and see the downtown, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't know. That 24 seems like a lot.
So I'll just add, not really be on his behalf, but the other two CUPs, and Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, this provision, the special provision says there's supposed to be 1 parking space per room and then per employee maximum shift. I don't think either hotels have achieved that number. There were CUPs issued on 2 different locations with a different kind of parking arrangement. Number 1, that allowed on-street parking, and I'm not sure the employee maximum shift was addressed. So I'm not sure what your other facility, what the parking standard was, but I believe it was 5 spaces maybe you had to achieve, and then.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's way less than a theater was.
Yeah.
I mean, a theater probably had 30 people in it.
So the zoning ordinance standard should be 1
Or
space
40
for every
people.
room. So in theory, it should be 24 spaces or 12 spaces or whatever number, plus employees. But on the flip side of that, in the downtown area, no one else has to achieve any parking standards except for hotels.
Because it's public parking.
Well, just the uses are just, the downtown is hunt and peck parking, that's what you do. So for example, in downtown Midway, we've got all those restaurants, there's no parking standards at all. When, if it was a restaurant out on the bypass, it would be,
Aren't they starting to do
Valet.
valet now?
but there's no standard, because traditionally your B2 zone has no parking standard for any use, whether it be a bank or a restaurant or church or anyone. There's no standard, but in our ordinance, for some reason, hotels and motels have to meet a special parking standard and get a CUP in the downtown.
I think the church had like 20 pews on each side, so the church had.
Yeah, they didn't have to
Meet any
adhere
standard.
to any parking
Yeah, but they're
standards.
there for an hour,
Yeah.
not overnight, not
Yeah.
the half or a day.
They had lots of services. They'd park in my parking quite a bit.
Yeah.
We all kind of worked together back there.
Well, again, the downtown, there's offices and churches and hotels and banks and, restaurants and shops and coffee shops, and everyone just parks where they park. That's the nature of downtown parking, but for some reason our ordinance has that in it, so it is the standard. And then it gives you all the ability, but again, there have been 2 CUPs, again, approved with meeting a lesser standard through a combination of on-street parking or shared parking arrangements.
Can you address employees?
Yeah, so currently it's my wife and I, and this would allow us to bring on a more permanent staff. We have the kind of style where we don't have a main office. This would help free up and have us to add a main office and things like that. So we would like to add probably 2 to 3 employees full-time. As far as the parking goes with them, obviously, it would be the same thing where they wouldn't be all there most of the time at once. We drive from Louisville, so, you know, we're in and out throughout the day. But I'm not really sure, you know, what the ordinance says as far as downtown parking, but from my experience, I send most of the people to Stone Fence tours and shuttle services, and a lot of them come directly from the airport. They're going to do Bourbon Trail stuff. They're getting picked up in the morning, and they're gone around, and then they come back at night. A lot of them don't even deal with vehicles. A lot of our clients really don't use vehicles that often.
You're saying the shuttle service picks them up from the airport?
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people want everything a la carte. And being so close to the airport with a group, a lot of corporate people ask if we can have 40 people, and I'm like, we can't really have 40 people right now, but one day we would like to.
Could we add a condition about less than 24, or just based on what the engineer comes up with, or what's?
And I think an appropriate condition would be less than 12 per floor, if that's what you wanted to do. That's the kind of thing that would let them work with the building inspector, and then, does that give you enough wiggle room?
Yes.
To request? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other, I mean, we could get creative with condition, y'all can think through this, but the zoning ordinance and the parking allows shared parking too. So, I mean, you all could do some kind of condition to say X number of rooms are approved based on what the parking standard we have today. And if he can achieve a shared parking arrangement with a neighboring property, then rooms 6 through 12 or whatever number can be developed as long as a shared parking arrangement is submitted. So, you know, he's got X number of spaces right now, whatever that number is, but it's serving both facilities. There is, you can see right there to the east, a parking lot that potentially could be worked out with a shared parking arrangement. And so the zoning ordinance basically says you never get to use on-street parking. It's got to be on-site. And then this is the number. So, but you can do shared parking that can be, you know, off your property on a neighbor's property in the general proximity. So you guys could say, well, based on your parking spaces, we're only going to approve 10 units or 8 units because that's what you have. Or you could say something that we're going to approve that, and then you can do the additional units with the submission of a shared parking arrangement with somebody.
Mine isn't just this is on, not just the parking, right? It's we don't know yet what's going, how many is going across the street there? And we do have the beautiful thing that you did there. There's 8 of them. I thought there were more than that in there.
You mean the one that's over here?
I'm just talking about all of the rooms be downtown, going from a few, like almost none for a really long time, to all of a sudden all of these. And I'm expressing concern on what the impact is on a small town that's moving more towards being a tourist destination instead of the small town.
Yeah, I wasn't here when this CUP was approved next door, but I don't know how many rooms it's supposed to have, and I don't know how many parking spaces.
I think it's important to bring the overall, what else is that we don't know, too? I don't know, there might be something else.
I do know this CUP was allowed to use some on-street parking in their mix to meet this standard. They were able to do some.
Well, they have all that behind them,
Well, they
too.
just have very few.
Yeah, there's not a lot of spaces.
There's not a ton of
but
theirs.
They're gonna use valet parking as well.
Yeah, valet parking.
These guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody know how many rooms they're gonna be there?
I think it's 42.
42.
Really? Wow.
And I think they have 4 or 8 leased spaces, and then the rest are going to be valet or on-street through the prior CUP. I don't know, Kim, I wasn't here. I don't remember when that was done. It wasn't too long ago before I got here, was it?
I wasn't here.
Probably 4 years ago.
Maybe,
Yeah, I was gonna say 3.
yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously the on-street, there's not a ton in front, but there would be some here on this side street that would be competing with the daytime kind of traffic of this building. And,
I just think it's legit to bring it up, that's all. That's why I'm.
well, and that's a standard that we have, so.
The only question I have is, it appears to me under the condition of approvals that it's in black and white, maximum number of hotel units will be less than 12. to me, that's almost, it's a number in black and white, and it concerns me that we might want to double it to go to 24. That's just a concern I've got.
I guess whenever I submitted the application like a month ago, we had just purchased it and we were working with the architect and we just had sketching. So that was kind of the thought process behind it. I wasn't trying to, do a bait and switch or anything like
I
that.
didn't mean it that way. I'm looking just at black and white. I mean, would it be acceptable if we would approve it with 12 with the thought that if you needed to go further with more, you'd have to come back before the Board of Adjustment?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I didn't think it would be an issue because it was originally, like I said, a theater and a church, which is more intensive than what we're proposing. And really, it becomes an issue around compression events. And, when people are, here during January, February, throughout, after February, then it gets busy. But like, I'd say close to half the year, it's really not busy downtown, in my experience from our travelers and things like that. So I didn't know it would be that much of an issue.
It's just a concern. It's the board's decision. I just wanted to make my concern aware. Any other questions? If not, I would like to close this hearing and seek a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to approve the conditional use permit for a hotel in an existing structure located at 125 Lexington Street, along with the applicant and the board's agreed upon conditions, recognizing the amendments to the applicant submitted conditions that we're going to do less than 12 per floor on number 1, and then that he seek a shared parking arrangement with properties to alleviate some of the concerns over the parking. I don't think that this application the use is not detrimental to public safety, health, and welfare. It won't contribute to an overburdening of the systems, and with these amendments, I don't think it'll result in increased traffic congestion or parking problems, and this otherwise meets the requirements of the ordinance.
I have a question. So what you're proposing is I have a shared space, is that what it is?
Yes,
Okay.
with the adjoining property owners.
I don't really know the adjoining property owners, but I would be happy and willing to do that. Has there ever been a parking study done?
Not to my knowledge.
Could I add that a parking study that, could be reviewed that could help determine, if I need to have the shared space?
That's probably out beyond this board's responsibility, I'll refer.
Something like that, it would be useful to have that before us for us to review, rather than giving you authorization to find a parking study. If we don't have the chance to vet it during the course of this hearing, I guess that would be the concern.
Okay, I was just concerned because it seems, I didn't know that I was going to have to get a shared space. So that's the reason why I mean, I'm willing, I don't really know the neighbors, so I'm willing to definitely talk to them and things like that, but.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just thinking about the logistics of your suggestion, but Mr. Shockley, I wanted to bring up that the way you've said it now, are you comfortable with this shared arrangement being a suggestion rather than
Yes.
a mandate?
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes.
Well, one option is that the shared parking agreement could be submitted with the building permit. So we have an opportunity that, as he works with the building inspector,
Right.
and they work through however many rooms this ends up being, that there be some type of parking arrangement that the building inspector could sign off on in the approval of the,
Because it may not be an issue.
may not be an issue.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Are you leaving it at 24?
12 per floor, yes.
What about if he could return to the board for an increase. Can we say that, or?
Well, he can amend his CUP
Mhm.
in the future if he needs to.
Okay.
That doesn't have to be a condition.
Mm.
And do we need to state how many floors?
I don't think are we saying 2 floors at 12 each? Is that what the final, after everything we went back and forth on?
That's what you were thinking, is that correct?
I was gonna follow whatever is in the code.
Yes, is there any ability to exceed 2 floors? And if so, if we're not comfortable with that, we could say less than 12 per floor and a maximum of 2 floors.
If I went above 2 floors, would the parking study come into play then?
That's going to be up to the movement and to the board.
So let me say this, could we delay this until you've had further opportunity to meet with your architect and?
I would prefer to not delay for, obviously.
30 days?
We don't intend to go above 2 stories, so that's why I was saying if we went above 2 stories, we would do the parking study.
So do we want to limit to 2
I was gonna
stories?
say.
And then if it come to us again for anything above 2 stories?
If we could make that condition as well.
Can I amend my,
Yes.
my motion to reflect that maximum of
Yes.
2 floors and come back if,
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from you?
At this point, what's the nature of the shared parking arrangement condition?
Just a suggestion that he seek a remedy with his neighbors to alleviate the parking and try to alleviate the street parking issue. But it's not mandatory.
It's a suggestion, and does a traffic study figure into the suggestion, or is that just
No, not in my motion.
separate? Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I want to understand, are you saying that he needs to go to his neighbor that he doesn't know and ask him to use his parking lot?
I would make a suggestion that he, yes, talk to his neighbors and see if he can come to some type of arrangement to have shared parking with a business that does not need a lot overnight. And because if I understand what your testimony, you said most of your people arrive in the late afternoon and the majority of them are gone in the morning. But you also said that, I won't say a majority, but several of your guests come directly from the airport with no vehicle shuttle service. So
Yes.
it may not be as big of an issue as it would appear on somebody, as opposed to me driving to Indianapolis, right? I know when I fly somewhere, I don't get a car, right? I use an Uber or whatever. So I don't know if it's the issue.
I'm looking at Uber here.
Well, right, I know that, but if they're getting a shuttle,
around, but-
right,
We work with the shuttle service quite a bit.
right.
If you know any shuttle services, they got lots of business looking for 'em.